And what about public service cuts? Are they coming under the coalition?
Well, it sounds that way, doesn't it, from what Peter Dutton said on another program yesterday, but not being very prescriptive, just saying we're not going to increase the public service, it sounds like. There might be some cuts. But Jane Hume sort of talks about the potential cuts here, and she talks about a First Nations person in the DFAT department. It's only a 200,000 cut, but you can see here it's kind of the war against woke that Trump's so-called war against woke that Trump's envisaged is going to play a role in things. But I also asked Jane Hume as Shadow Finance, what about this Jacinta Price appointment, Laura? Because it seems to cut right across what a finance minister does. Yeah. Back in the days of Peter Walsh in the Hawke government, this is what they do. They get the razor out. So how is that going to work? She couldn't even tell me. She says it's up to Peter Dutton if Jacinta Price is going to be on the Shadow ERC, Expenditure Review Committee. So I did find that intriguing. The cuts are coming. Peter Dutton says, I'll tell you after the election, which is a controversial approach, but I guess opens the way for Labor to some extent, but it's probably better than Tony Abbott saying we're going to cut nothing and then proceeding to deliver that horror 2014 budget. Here was Jane Hume yesterday.
The government waste that has been identified is eye-watering. Let's just take one example. DFAT, the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, have employed a consultant in Darlinghurst to give them strategic advice on how to have a First Nations approach to foreign affairs. Now, I'm not entirely sure why that's necessary in the first place, but it's going to cost over $250,000. On top of that, we already have a First Nations ambassador and part of his mandate is to develop a strategic approach to a First Nations approach to foreign affairs. He earns $380,000 a year. There is extraordinary amounts of duplication.
So Peter Dutton's put Jacinta Price in charge of government efficiency. If you were to become finance minister, you shadow finance. Isn't that your job, government efficiency, to find things to cut?
Well, this is not unusual for a coalition government to be focused on reducing government waste and improving government efficiency. We've had ministers for government efficiency and reducing red tape and improving government services in the past.
So it's not undercutting you?
Don't for a second think that there isn't... Oh, gosh, no, of course not. And don't think for a second that there isn't an awful lot of government waste to go around.
It's so interesting, Andrew, because our elections, like any other in democratic countries, are really focused on the dollar for dollar, how things are going to be paid for, debt and deficit. I just don't think other countries like the UK and certainly not America are focused on that dollar for dollar. I think what Peter Dutton and Jane Hume are doing here, rolling the dice a little bit here and saying, look, we're going to cut waste, we'll have to look at the books, trust us on the other side. That's never really worked before. Do you think it might work now?
No, I think you raise a good point. I mean, what we're going to see potentially from Peter Dutton is not total Trump tactics, but some Trump tactics. And that is, frankly, make a statement and not worry too much about producing a page with all the budget line items you're proposing. Yeah. Now, he in most of the policies he's announced, whether it's been on net migration or whatever, there's been no policy document. So I think we'll be seeing a little bit more of that from the Liberals. And really, can they get away with that? Maybe they can in the current environment. I don't know. Look, we both know it's going to be a fascinating election. There's no doubt about it, and a very tight one.
Yeah, I think there's a chance that he might be able to get away with that too. We will see. Andrew, it is going to be a fascinating one indeed. We'll speak soon.